could you just tell us a little bit about you and the Positive Sport workshop that will be happening in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, thanks, Sharon. We're very excited about the conference as well, and thank you for the invitation to be part of it. Both Justin Robinson and myself are the director, and I'm the associate director of the Institute of Positive Education here at Geelong Grammar School in Australia. And for the last 5 or 10 years, we've been working with our own school and with schools around the world to help place well-being at the heart of education. And I think, in regards to sport, I think what we see typically in excellent schools is kind of a paradoxical relationship between sport and well-being. Let me try and explain it this way. So sometimes I walk into a world-class school, and what you see, the first thing you see is a row of trophies in some trophy cabinet in the main reception of a school. And the kind of sense you get is that this school's trying to collect trophies, or there's some sort of worldwide trophy shortage, and this school is hoarding trophies, and there's a sense that sport is ultimately in that school about winning the trophy, winning the prize. Unfortunately, that's completely antithetical. It's completely the opposite to really what we want sport to be about in schools. And I think what I've felt in my own experience of school sport, what I've seen in working with schools for 20 years, is that school sport in schools, athletics in schools, can be absolutely devastating for a child's well-being. It can be harmful. It can cause all sorts of relationship issues, all sorts of anxiety and stress. It can be quite traumatic for students, especially students perhaps that are, not the most, naturally sporty kids, or that have some sort of social issues, or they get bullied because they're not good enough at swinging a baseball bat, or whatever it is. There can be some real devastating effects of sport. And even for me at school, like I like sport. I'm okay at sport. I'm pretty good at sports. But I found sport at school really kind of anxiety inducing. Whether I was going to be selected for the team or not, whether my friends were in my team, whether I'd make mistakes, and the way that was managed and handled. So we know that sport can be challenging, can be difficult, and potentially unhelpful in terms of overall education of a child, and particularly their overall well-being. On the other hand, what we see, Sharon, is, in my view, sport has the potential in schools to be the ultimate well-being intervention. It has the capacity, when it's delivered well, when it's embraced for what it should be about, that it can enhance well-being in a way that no other intervention in schools can. And let me tell you why that is, because I think when we see sport done really well, what we see is like a microcosm, like a zoomed in petri dish or something. I don't know what the right analogy is, but like a positive psychology can be compressed into this one moment that is a sports practice or a sport, performance. Because what you have, if you think about PERMA Plus, or whatever model of well-being you want to think about, with positive engagement, relationships, meaning, purpose, accomplishment, health, they are all so intricately linked into what sport can be about, right? And that's why it's so harmful when it's done poorly, and so impactful in a positive way when it's done well. So this workshop we want to run is really asking educators, what is the purpose of sport in schools? It should not be about winning trophies. It's got to be bigger than that. So what is the purpose of sport in schools? And then secondly, how can we harness sport to ensure that it is optimizing or helping optimize the well-being of every child, both the elite athlete in your school and the kid who struggles to jump over a high jump bar, or whatever it is. For every kid in the school, this should be an opportunity to enhance their well-being. So this workshop draws on positive psychology, it draws on neuroscience, it draws on a whole range of health sciences and other human sciences to help empower educators to get this intervention right, because it is so crucial for our students.
That's great. So obviously, educators in schools would be people who would be interested in this workshop. Who else do you think might be interested in coming to this type of workshop on positive sport?
Yeah, I think obviously any educator involved in a sporting or athletics program is highly relevant for them. We've also delivered this program to sports coaches, both elite sports coaches that are coaching professional teams, but also the local coach who might be spending an hour a week with the little under 12 soccer team or whatever it is. So any adult really that's involved in a sport program of any kind, but also interested parents. We've had a lot of our parents and parents from other schools come along to this workshop because parents are involved in the children's physical activity and sport as well. And so I think, as you well know, Sharon, when we get parents and schools and educators and school leaders all kind of singing from the same hymn book, as it were, that's when the real power happens. And so I think any adult that's involved in any sort of physical activity with students in an education setting or even outside of education would find this valuable.
Great. And just one last question. Can you give me maybe one little preview or maybe one of your favorite parts from the workshop that you could give us a glimpse of maybe what
Yeah.
people will learn?
Yeah. Let me first say that the two key areas of emphasis in this workshop are on positive relationships and on positive health, particularly the link between physical and mental health and how sport can amplify relationships and health. So they're the two kind of positive psychology domains that we'll really emphasize in this workshop. But I think to give you a little hint of one of the most kind of provocative parts of the workshop that we found over the last couple of years is we look at Lance Armstrong as an example of one of the world's best ever athletes, incredible athletic performer. And you could not argue with the fact that he has been highly successful in his sport, one of the most successful athletes ever. And you could argue that it was because sport went wrong in his life, because the emphasis was wrong, because the purpose was wrong, that that he cheated. He felt that winning was more important than well-being. So we asked the question about, was Lance Armstrong successful? Was he a flourishing athlete even in his prime? Do we have to win trophies to be successful as an athlete? So we kind of delve into that case study as an example of where, when we get the priorities wrong, it can lead to awful outcomes. So I hope that's a little snippet there, a little enticing tidbit.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, there's a lot of people who can't wait to hear this. So we're so looking forward to having you guys. All right.
Thanks, Sharon. Really looking forward to it too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.